India is going to be hosting a big summit on artificial intelligence. Should we be afraid of artificial intelligence? Will humanity be gobbled up by artificial intelligence? Will avatars take over the world? To answer some of these very interesting questions, I have with me a very special person, the United Nations Technology Envoy, Mr. Amandeep Singh Gill, somebody who's been well known in India for his role in the Foreign Service, a nuclear specialist, a disarmament specialist who is now trying to bring a compact for the global world on artificial intelligence. He's also going to be speaking at the India International Center on Artificial Intelligence, and somebody who's trained at Punjab University. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you for having me.
Am I speaking to an avatar of Amandeep or to the real Amandeep?
No, you have me in flesh and blood.
Wonderful. We are doing it virtually, someday in person also.
Indeed.
You are the special, or you're the technology envoy for United Nations, a very important position. Time magazine called you one of the top 100 people, influential people on artificial intelligence. Very simple question, sir. Should artificial intelligence be embraced or hated by the general public?
Not hated at all. In fact, it should be embraced. It should be embraced with hope, but with some degree of caution, because it's a very powerful technology. Everything powerful that we encounter in life, we have to manage it. So artificial intelligence is not to be hated. It's not to be afraid of. It is to be embraced with caution. It has to be managed both in terms of its opportunities and also its risks.
What are the big benefits of artificial intelligence for the larger public?
Artificial intelligence is a unique technology. It can spot patterns in vast amounts of data, and it can generate outputs, and increasingly creative outputs, which seem like what human beings might do. So that's why we call it artificial intelligence. It approximates human perception, human reasoning, human actions. So that means it can pretty much do a lot of what humans can do, especially intellectual activity. And in the material world, it can speed up, it can accelerate innovation across a range of sectors. Take agriculture, take public health, education, environment, industry. There is no field out there that will not be impacted by artificial intelligence. It's like electricity. It's like the steam engine before that. These are general purpose technologies that impacted every aspect of our lives. So let's consider this as a very powerful general purpose technology.
Are there risks involved with it, and will artificial intelligence take over humanity? That is a big worry which people have.
I hope not. I think we underestimate human potential, human intelligence, and humans should always be masters of technology. Technology should not enslave human beings. And with artificial intelligence, there are real risks. We see some risks already of exclusion, of bias, let's say, misinformation, disinformation, misleading people about the reality. We also see risks of immense concentration of wealth and power, rich becoming richer, a few countries, few companies controlling the value coming out of AI. So increasing the digital divide, increasing the economic divide. These are some of the immediate risks that we see, but we also have medium-term, long-term risks. One of them is massive disruption in the labor market. Take business process outsourcing, for example. So there are likely to be impacts on software workers, on data analysts, pretty much all white collar jobs from AI. So people will have to be skilled, reskilled. Of course, new jobs will be created, but there will be disruption and that will have to be managed. There are systemic risks if you connect powerful technologies to weapon systems or to stock markets. Of course, you can gain a lot, but then there are risks if things go wrong. Who's accountable? How do we manage some of the misuses around cybersecurity, development of bioweapons, and so on? So those are kind of risks running into the medium term. You mentioned a long-term risk. Would AI take over humanity? I think this is for now a subject of science fiction. So the famous science fiction authors like Isaac Asimov, I think both of us
Yes.
love these authors. So they spoke about a world in which robots run the economy, in which it's a benign world, but there are still, aspects where humanity seems to be much less powerful than these machines, and it has lost its agency. My worry really is not about robots taking over humanity. My worry is more about humans losing connection with each other, connection with their own inner selves, with their own inner reality, and somehow not connecting well with our real world problems, what needs to be done with our planet, with many other challenges that we have. So we have to keep an eye out on that long term distraction, loss of human agency.
You spoke about how it could disrupt software workers. India is considered a software capital of the world. Will we see a lot of disruption of the information technology because a lot of it is especially BPO, it's body shopping. Will that get disrupted? Will we see large scale disruptions in India?
I wish I could say otherwise, but the good news is that I've spoken with the big tech companies in India, and this is a conversation that goes back at least 3 years, and they have been planning for it. So all companies, software companies, are seeing efficiencies in terms of usage of human involvement in coding, 20 to 40% already, going up very rapidly. And the latest AI models that have been released, in fact, this month, are a step above what we saw last year. So, those are being used to generate code more efficiently. And at the same time, new jobs, new areas are being created to, let's say, manage the AI pipeline in terms of annotation of data, tuning of models, some of the other, new skills that are needed to thrive in the AI world. So I see companies adjusting, but definitely it's going to be a tough time, especially those at the lower end of the BPO type of work, call centers, etc. AI agents are increasingly human-like in terms of how they handle these conversations. So obviously, rapid reskilling, shifting to adjacent areas, shifting to areas where there's more value addition, and also, as they say, if you can't fight them, join them. So using AI tools to increase efficiencies itself in the BPO sector. So those are some of the areas that I see as very active in India.
So reskilling would be required.
At a massive scale, and not just in the software sector, but also broadly in industry. I think a major factor in terms of diffusion of AI and deriving of benefits from AI would be absorption capacity in the small to medium scale enterprises. So currently, I think almost all over the world, it's not just India, that capacity is lacking. So you would need to train people in AI skills. I tend to look at the AI related skills in several tiers. So one is general population level literacy with some of these, commercial offerings. whether we are students or researchers, how do we use these tools well? There's a mindset shift. It's like you don't go to Google. If you when you put a search string on a browser, you try and be a little parsimonious with words, but a prompt sometimes requires much more context.
Sure,
So we
sure.
need that general pop. And then you need smarter kind of skills in terms of, the coding tools and some of the other more sophisticated tools. And then, of course, you need AI development skills, particularly cross-domain skills, agriculture and AI, health and AI.
Now, let's talk a little bit about governance of AI. Now,
Yeah.
how is the UN or United Nations going to help in the governance of AI? We have two different models. We have the soft touch from America and a hard regulation coming from the European Union. And where do you think India should do its regulation on artificial intelligence?
So at the UN, we have adopted a global digital compact in September 2024. It is the first global agreement on the governance of AI. It has led to the establishment of a global dialogue on AI, happening in July in Geneva and then next year in New York, an international independent scientific panel, and some other decisions which allow the world to come together and discuss and understand AI's implications, opportunities, and risks. It's not a top down approach. It is an approach where countries can learn from each other. You mentioned the soft touch approach in the US, the EU's law based approach. You have Japan and other countries who have adopted laws. India has the DPDP, so there is data protection, which I consider as part of a law-based approach to AI. So different countries, depending on their political, economic, cultural context, are adopting their own ways to govern. Our value in the UN is that we are the most inclusive platform on earth. And we have some norms, human rights norms, the sustainable development agenda, environment, etc. So, whatever countries may decide to do in their sovereignty, they can at least come to the UN, discuss, share with each other, learn from each other, avoid costly mistakes, and ground their governance in our shared norms in the UN Charter and other treaties. So for now, the UN is not embarking on like an NPT type of a treaty. In the nuclear domain, you have these treaties,
Uh,
other treaties. Yeah.
I was coming to that. You have tremendous experience in disarmament, especially the nuclear issues, and the world has not seen use of nuclear arms thanks to probably the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Do you think AI needs an NPT kind of an compact?
I think we are not at that stage where legally binding instruments are needed in this kind of a general way. There may be some specific areas, niche applications like, lethal autonomous weapons, where the Secretary General has indeed called for a ban on weapons systems that take life and death decisions on their own, because that appears to be contrary to international humanitarian law, which, the laws of war, as they are called, there are certain principles that are laid down there. And these are principles and laws we have developed over centuries of civilized conduct. So they are a distillation of our civilizational ethos. And we don't want new technology to kind of destroy some of that ethos. So those niche areas we may require some kind of legal rules. But in a general way, I think our approach now is horizontal facilitation of dialogues. That said, I think it's for nations to consider what kind of law based approaches they need to take.
So
In the future, we may have another situation.
essentially, if I understand correctly, from the UN perspective, you're saying autonomous decisions taken by artificial intelligence on lethal weapons should be avoided. Is that correct?
Yes, on the battlefield. So, lethal autonomous weapons that take life and death decisions on their own without any human involvement.
Now, whenever we talk of artificial intelligence, we always have to talk about electricity and energy.
Right.
The UN has been working very hard to control climate change and runaway carbon dioxide emissions. But if you bring in artificial intelligence into the picture, and I remember you having spoken that we'll increase power by about 4 times very soon. This is a paradox. How do we address that?
Indeed, as you said, it's a paradox. As we abstract more and more with artificial intelligence, we have to rely more and more on the real world for energy, for water, for cooling, materials, silicon, in particular copper. The prices of some of these items are going through the roof. And in some parts of the world, there's actually a shortage. You cannot find energy on the grid to plug your data centers to. So these data centers are relying on fuel cells, on methane gas sometimes, etc. So unfortunately, this is taking us away from the direction in which the UN Secretary General has asked us to go: less reliance on fossil fuels.
Fossil fuels.
Absolutely. And in some parts of the world, there may be pressure on bills that individuals pay, household electricity bills. Now, we need the energy for AI, and we need it to come from renewable resources. And I think one area where there is a lot of potential is nuclear, small modular reactors. Nuclear, as you know, is renewable, doesn't rely on fossil fuels. So we have a number of technologies that are currently coming up, exciting technologies that would allow us to kind of bring these two fields together. I would see this as a 1970s oil shock type of a moment, where suddenly the percentage of nuclear energy in countries like France went up under pressure because oil prices had gone through the roof. So hopefully AI will force us to rely more on these kind of sources of energy. And related to this is we need to be more collaborative about development of AI. There's no need to develop the same model 50 times over all over the world. So if models can be developed collaboratively, there is less run on energy. If data sets can be put together in critical areas like climate change resilient agriculture or plastics in the oceans, then it helps us save energy while solving important problems.
What is your expectation out of this big AI Impact Summit, which is being held in a developing country for the first time?
I think it's very exciting that the AI Summit is happening in the global south in a developing country for the first time. It's the largest gathering, I believe, so far. So from Bletchley Park in the UK, a historic setting, to Seoul, to Paris, and now to New Delhi, it's been quite a journey, and the aperture has widened from a focus on extreme risk to all kinds of risks and also all kinds of opportunities, and now to impact and the capacities that are needed to achieve that impact. So this is thanks to the leadership of India and previously France in steering this discussion. It's also an exciting opportunity because it comes just a few months ahead of the first global dialogue on AI governance at the United Nations. So I see these streams kind of coming together as a mighty river of a human-centric, well-governed approach to managing this very powerful technology. I believe there's also an emphasis on common people relating to AI at the India Summit. I think that's very, very important. I remember your first question. So we should not be afraid of AI. We should engage with it. We should see which parts of our lives can be improved with AI. So India is making the effort to make AI more understandable to the common people.
So India and 1.4, 1.5 billion Indians should be embracing AI in a big way.
I would say so. India's experience with digital public infrastructure, India Stack, is very instructive here. There is trust in that system. It has done good things for India, and I think this is the next stage.
Always a pleasure learning and listening from you, Amandeep. Your earlier avatar in nuclear disarmament, I hope, will play a big role in making sure that the fears and apprehensions about the risk of AI would be dispelled from this large perch like position, which you certainly have today. And you will be able to bring a compact which will bring the world together and bring peace for the world.
Thank you so much, Pallav. Thank you for the kind words. Let's work together to make this global digital compact, this governance of AI for humanity, a reality. Thank you.
So artificial intelligence for a peaceful world. That would be the big message which would come out from this particular interesting dialogue I had with Mr. Amandeep Singh Gill, the technology envoy for the United Nations. Thanks a lot for speaking to me, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaskar.